But let's continue here now. Let's discuss these and other election-related stories further. We're joined via Zoom by political analyst, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu. Professor, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, my sister, and good evening, good afternoon to your listeners.
Prof, perhaps let me start here. It would seem as each party moves from one community to the next, South African citizens are not moved by what some of these political parties are promising. Are we starting to see a shift as it relates to how South Africans will vote come November the 1st?
You know what, my sister, I'm happy that you are making this point because when I made this point several times on different forums, I was saying that the concern raised by political parties that they did not have enough time to canvass, they did not have enough time to market their manifestos. For me, it did not hold water because the electorate decide long before election time as to which party they will vote for. So whether these politicians crisscross the country or whether they stay at home, it just doesn't matter. People know exactly which party they will vote for, and they have their own reasons for doing that. So I can understand, for instance, why the leader of the EFF is targeting the youth, because that is the stronghold or that is the base of the EFF. I can also understand why the ANC president is going to the Eastern Cape, Gqeberha, and related places, because they know that area is contested mainly between the ANC and the DA. And I can also understand why Steenhuisen is also making the point that the race is between the DA and the EFF. But then the reality of the matter, my sister, is that people know who they are going to vote for. Whether you're a new party or an old party, or whether you're an independent candidate, people have already made their mind as to who they will vote for, and they have their own reasons. And most of these reasons are not necessarily contained in the manifestos.
Well, talking about people having made up their minds, we're now seeing that, certain leaders from the ANC being brought in the campaign trail. Let's talk about the recent utterances by former President Thabo Mbeki. He made some very interesting remarks during his speech to business leaders, business people as you were last night in Johannesburg. Amongst what he said was the ANC is too big to fail, meaning that South Africa can really not improve as a country should the ANC fail. What are we to make about what he said?
The former President Thabo Mbeki has made very critical points, not just in the speech that he made yesterday, but also when he delivered the Sisulu lecture that was organized by Walter Sisulu University. And among the points he's making, in my view, there are two points that he's making. On the one hand, he's critical of the way the ANC is handling itself. But then on the other hand, he still believes that there is hope that the ANC will still serve this nation because of its experience in governance. But then he's frank about it because he's saying that things have gone wrong and the ANC has to appreciate the vote that it has been getting from the electorate. So failure to do so will mean that it's a disservice, not just to the ANC membership, but to the country as a whole. And by him appealing to the business people and then being frank when talking to them, he's basically saying that the business community should not turn its back against the ANC because he still believes that there is a chance for the ANC to take this country forward. Whether then the business people will believe that or not, that's another issue. But the point is, I'm happy with the way in which the former president is being frank and honest about how things are happening in the party, so that at least there will be that constructive criticism as opposed to people who criticize just for the sake of criticizing.
Also spoke about the kind of leadership that is needed in that political party. You mentioned, the renewal of the ANC's 2017 understanding. In fact, also interesting were the former Deputy President of South Africa, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka's words when she said that the ANC has messed up and that we need leaders of a different caliber. Perhaps going back to my original point about just what South Africans need in terms of who the next leaders should be. I mean, when she mentioned, that, you know, the people that are chosen to lead in these communities should have some level of humility. Do you think there's a disconnect between these people that are elected in terms of what their role is, and that is to serve? So they come in as people who are supposed to serve those communities, and it shouldn't be the other way around.
That's a sad reality. You know, people who joined the ANC and other liberation movements before 1994, they did so voluntarily, and they were serving the people they were representing. But then lately, we've seen people joining politics for different reasons. The most important of which is seeing politics as a way of creating jobs. And that is a sad reality. And the reason why we are where we are right now as a country is simply because most of the politicians have lost the caliber of the earlier politicians who made sacrifices for this country to be where it is today. So if you were to elect a new leadership and then turn this country around and then bring it to its former glory, one of the things we will have to do will be to identify the bad elements within all the parties, not just the governing party. But the problem is, if the majority of the politicians are now dishonest, who do you go for? In other words, if, for example, the ANC goes to the elective Congress next year and it says that the ANC has messed up, as Mngomezulu said, and then you want to bring in new blood. If you don't have youngsters who are being elected into the municipalities, youngsters who are being elected into being members of provincial legislatures and the national legislature, where are you going to get these leaders? So the problem is not just with the leaders per se, but it's with the entire electorate from the branch level, because that's where these nominations are made. Normally we complain when cabinet is constituted and we say, where is the youth? For you to become an MEC, for you to become a minister, you must first be a member of parliament. And for you to get there, you must have been nominated at a branch level. So I think it's a collective responsibility. I agree with Mngomezulu when she says that the party has messed up, but then there is a chance for the party to redeem itself only if it is honest and it takes constructive criticism and then it does things differently. But then it's going to take time, my sister. I don't want to lie to you. It's going to take time because it looks like the elements of corruption and nepotism and a couple of other things have been deeply ingrained in people's DNA. So it will take time to get rid of that so that you can get the kind of leadership that Mngomezulu and former President Thabo Mbeki envisage. It's going to be hard work.
And I wonder if independents can pick up from that hard work. Well, Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That's where we have to leave it for today. Thank you so much. That's political analyst Professor Bheki Mngomezulu there for us. Let's